welcome to NOLA Stamping. I'm Barb Baldwin, and welcome back to another crafty copycat creations. So this month we've been focusing on a new technique. So there's been a couple of other videos about it, so you can go back and watch those. But the technique is basically if you take vellum paper and then put some ink on the back of it, and then use rubbing alcohol to make the ink go a little bit. And it creates some crafty, fun, neat projects. And each one is different because the ink all just goes a different way. So today we're going to use some alcohol ink markers, and we're going to be cutting up some vellum. So for an A2 size card, what we're going to need is a piece of vellum that's 3 3/4 inch wide by 5.5 inches. So the 5.5 inches is the same width as the A2 card size. So let's go ahead and do the technique first. So I'm just taking all of the alcohol ink markers that I have. There's some Stampin' Up, Stampin' Right markers. And I'm just going through the rainbow. So I started with red and pink, then going to orange, yellow, green, blue, and then ending with purple. And I'm just scribbling a little bit on the vellum, and just not making anything straight or worrying too much about it, because then I'm gonna go ahead and I filled up a water brush with the rubbing alcohol. It's just normal rubbing alcohol, like from your box store or pharmacy or something. And I'm just taking and going over what I scribbled. And what that does is it sort of like lightens up the edges, and then all of the color just sort of will blend together much better. And there won't be like any of those lines in between colors. And then I just take the brush and just uh, uh, you know, um, bounce it against my finger. And then it just does like little spots of the rubbing alcohol. And that'll just make everything just sort of ooze and go in different directions and stuff. So I taped it down with some washi tape, and then I'm just going to go ahead and let that dry. So while it's drying, let's go ahead and do some stamping. So I'm using just some basic gray for the stamp, and I'm using a new stamp set. It comes out in March, and it's called A Rainbow of Thanks. And it's got a bunch of different like brush strokes and things like that, but it's also got something like a little sentiment that says A Rainbow of Thanks. And then it has like a paint roller, and then it's got like a paintbrush. So I'm just going to, in the bottom corner of my card base, do the Rainbow of Thanks with a little brush on the side of it. And then let's go ahead and cut some cardstock. So we'll need a piece of black cardstock that is 2.5 inches by 5.5 inches. So we're going to be using the card as like a top fold card. So everything will be 5.5 inches wide, just so then it goes across the whole width of the card. Okay, so then we also need a piece of white cardstock that is 2 1/4 inch tall by that 5.5 inches wide again. So everything with this card is really simple. So you just want to make sure that everything is sort of like lined up and all of your cuts are straight on it. So the vellum takes a very long time to dry. So I ended up transferring my vellum paper to the Stampin' Positioner, just so that I could move on my workspace and do a couple other things. So after it's dried, I let it dry for quite a while, and I'm just going to go ahead and grab my paper trimmer, and I want to put a score mark that's about 1/2 inch from the top, and then because like vellum shows through, so you don't like anything that's like adhesive or any way to connect a card. You the adhesive would show through, right? So what we're doing is on that 2¼ inch white cardstock, we're going to put the adhesive on the back side of that, and then attach the vellum to it. So that'll be like the nice white way you'll see all of the gorgeous rainbow effect on the front part of it. Or if you like the muted side, it was a really hard decision for me whether to use the more muted version or the bright version, and I went with the bright version. So on the paper trimmer, back again, and we want to score that line where it'll wrap around. So I used score tape on the back, and the reason why I did that was because I wanted to add some gold transfers. Just for fun, I'm adding some gold transfer to the white cardstock. So that way it'll just sort of like you'll see just a little hint of it shine through on the rainbow. It's a really subtle touch, so it's not exactly necessary, but I knew that I was going to use a lot of the gold transfers on it, and I thought that it might be a fun effect. So go ahead and peel off that backing paper. And then we've got the full rainbow, like it's a nice like hard line for the rainbow. And then the bottom part is where we use that paintbrush and just sort of smooth out the bottom parts, right? So I'm going to use some of the gold transfer, and I'm just using pieces and parts of it because I just wanted like a thin little bit of gold. So I find that it's easier on those gold transfers to just go ahead and cut like what you want to show up on your card. And then then you lay it down, and then I use my bone folder and just go over the top of it, just to give it a little bit of light pressure. And then that's all you do to do those like gold transfers. Like in the old days, you could use a popsicle stick, but the bone folder's already on your desk, so I find that a nice thing to do. So I'm just gonna put the gold on the top and the bottom, and then I'm just gonna do a couple other little like little touches. And then we're going to mount it on that black card just to give the rainbow a nice like frame to it. And that'll be an easier way to attach everything to the card base. So I'm once again going to go ahead and use some scoring tape just because it's on my desk. And it's a really strong adhesive, so everything will just stick and stay in place. No worries. So once we've got that all on the frame, we're going to go ahead and trim up the edges just so then like there's no black showing through. So it just cleans up the edges. And then we're going to go ahead and attach that to the card base. So remember we stamped the very bottom, the rainbow of thanks. And so I just want to leave a little bit, about 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch from the top, just to give the card a little bit of space there. And since the scoring tape is still right there, let's go ahead and grab that and use it to attach that black frame to the card base. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab some more of the gold transfer. And I thought it'd be kind of a fun thing to have it like right below the black frame, just to pull the gold from the vellum part into the rest of the card. So I did that, and then I wasn't 100% sold on like how thick all that gold was. So I just took a finger and sort of rubbed a little bit, and you can rub more, if you put a little more pressure on the bottom, it'll rub out, or you can use an eraser to do that if you don't want to use your finger. Okay, so only a couple other things and this card will be completely done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the marker to color in like a little bit of like a splash of the rainbow coming off of that paintbrush. And I wanted to zoom in and show you, I don't always like to do, like, especially with the alcohol ink markers, I don't like to draw. So what I'll do is I'll just do dots. So I'm just doing a dot of color, a dot of color, a dot of color. And then the alcohol ink just sort of like will just absorb all of those colors together, and they just sort of will like be a nice little ombre sort of effect that's really similar to the what we did with the vellum. So I always say, like, you don't always have to scribble with those alcohol ink markers. You can always just sort of like do little dots, and that's usually better than like trying to color and then you like go off in the wrong direction or something. So like that's a nice, safe, easy way to just add a little bit of color without having to worry too much about it. And all that's left are the embellishments. So I have these new flat dots. They're actually called natural matte dots, and they're going to be coming out in March also. But the colors really match nicely with what we're doing. And I want the gold to really stand out. So I'm going to go ahead and put that odd number of embellishments on there. And this card is done. I really love the technique that we've been playing around with all month, and I think this really showcases it in a great way. I can't wait to see your versions of it. So you should share what you do on the Crafty Copycat Creations Facebook page. You'll be able to see what other people do there and see the current month's challenge. Well, thanks for making this card along with me, and don't forget to stay crafty.